The race for the Navy's future fighter is officially on. First, Northrop teased us with their next-gen concept, and now Boeing is here with a reveal of their own. So, what's it all about? And how do these designs differ? Let's find out. The need for the fighter arose from the Navy's recognition that its carriers could be outranged and outgunned in a future conflict, particularly by China's growing arsenal of long-range carrier-killer weapons. Current carrier fighters like the Super Hornet lack the combat radius to strike distant targets without putting their $13+ billion carriers in range of threats such as the DF-21D and other anti-ship missiles that boast ranges over 1,000 miles. This range gap, combined with advanced enemy air defenses, drove the Navy as early as 2008 to begin exploring a next-generation carrier-based fighter. By the mid-2000s, the Pentagon's thinking had shifted from developing a single aircraft to a family of systems. A 2014 DARPA-led study called the Dominance Initiative recommended pairing a crewed 6th-gen fighter with a constellation of AI-enabled drone wingmen, networked sensors, and weapons as part of a next-generation air dominance NGAD program. This led to a secretive X-plane technology demonstrator program that produced at least 2 flying prototypes by the late 2000s. Out of this work grew 2 parallel but coordinated efforts, one for the Air Force, aimed at replacing the F-22 Raptor, and one for the Navy's F/A-XX. Unlike the tri-service F-35 program of the past, the Air Force and Navy agreed on separate aircraft tailored to their unique needs, but sharing some modular systems to save cost and development time. Moreover, the F/A-XX is expected to be larger with more fuel and payload, and to act as a mission quarterback, coordinating drones and other assets. Behind the scenes, multiple defense contractors were vying for the contract. By 2024, reports emerged that Lockheed Martin was out of the F/A-XX competition, leaving Boeing and Northrop Grumman as the final contenders. Originally, the Navy hoped to select a winner and start F/A-XX development in parallel with the Air Force's program, so that the first operational jets could enter service by the mid to late 2030s. The plan was for the Air Force's fighter to arrive in the early 2030s and the Navy's shortly after, replacing the oldest Super Hornets before they age out. Indeed, by early 2025, the Navy appeared close to a down-select decision on F/A-XX. However, a major hurdle emerged: concerns over the U.S. defense industry's capacity to develop 2 high-end fighters at once. In March 2025, the Air Force awarded Boeing the contract to build its NGAD fighter, the F-47, finally ending a months-long hold on that program. Shortly after, top Pentagon leaders began questioning if proceeding immediately with the Navy's fighter would jeopardize the Air Force's project or overstretch industry. In June 2025, the White House and Pentagon effectively put F/A-XX on pause, slashing its FY 2026 budget by a dramatic 84%. The administration's defense budget request allotted only $74 million, just enough to keep F/A-XX alive at a bare minimum level, while fully funding the Air Force's F-47 effort. An unnamed Pentagon official bluntly stated that the presidential priority was to go all in on F-47. Navy leadership was dismayed. The Secretary of the Navy at the time echoed concerns about strained shipbuilding and procurement budgets, but uniformed leaders like the Chief of Naval Operations countered that threats, especially China, demand continuing F/A-XX without delay. China is not slowing down, and we shouldn't slow down either, Admiral James Kilby urged, emphasizing that both the Navy and Air Force need 6th-gen fighters to counter future threats. Demand for F/A-XX quickly rallied. In July 2025, the Navy placed $1.4 billion for F/A-XX at the very top of its annual unfunded priorities list. Lawmakers also took up the cause, with the House Defense Appropriations Subcommittee attempting to plus up nearly $1 billion back into FAXX for 2026. In response, the White House issued a policy statement doubling down on its stance, arguing that launching FAXX now, concurrently with the F-47, is likely to delay the higher priority F-47 program, with low likelihood of improving the timeline to field a Navy sixth-generation fighter. Then, in August 2025, Northrop Grumman unexpectedly broke their silence, releasing the first official concept art of their vision for the FAXX. Today, we won't be focusing too much on it, as we already did it in previous video, but overall, the fighter's fuselage appears deep and bulky under the belly, suggesting ample internal volume for fuel and weapons bays, which aligns with the Navy's range and payload requirements. Notably absent in the Northrop artwork are any visible tail surfaces or canard forewings. The image is cropped such that we can't see the rear of the aircraft at all. This leaves open the question of whether Northrop's design is a tailless flying wing/body or uses more conventional tails. The smooth, organic curves of the aircraft, with no obvious protrusions, have drawn comparisons to Northrop's own YF-23 Black Widow prototype from the 1990s. The YF-23 was a stealth fighter design noted for its blended, almost tailless shape, and Northrop's FAXX seems to channel a similar aesthetic, heavily emphasizing low observability over maneuverability. Just a few weeks later, Boeing unveiled their FAXX concept rendering at the 2025 Tailhook Symposium. In contrast to Northrop's shadowy deck scene, Boeing's artwork shows the jet in flight from a dynamic angle, partly obscured by condensation clouds. What can be seen aligns closely with Boeing's known concept for the Air Force's sixth-gen fighter. Both feature a streamlined, needle-like nose and fuselage, a blended wing body, and a distinct bubble canopy that appears nearly identical between the two. Perhaps the most debated feature in Boeing's design is the hint of canard foreplanes. In the image, faint outlines in the cloud around where the wing leading edge extends suggest small wing-like appendages near the nose. These canards were confirmed in earlier Air Force renderings, albeit subtly as Boeing deliberately obscured them there too. The presence of canard surfaces on a stealth fighter is surprising. Such surfaces can reflect radar and have generally been avoided on fifth-gen designs. Their inclusion hints at Boeing prioritizing certain performance aspects. Canards can provide extra lift and maneuverability, especially at lower speeds or high angles of attack. For a carrier-based aircraft, canards could be a boon for slow-speed control, aiding in challenging carrier landings and takeoffs. They might also enhance agility in dogfights. Boeing's rationale may be that modern stealth shaping and control software can mitigate the radar drawbacks, or that the canards could even be deployable or movable in ways that reduce their radar profile when not needed. However, there's a twist. Analysts caution that these concept art canards might be a form of misdirection. Boeing and the Air Force have not confirmed the real NGAD design, and some speculate the company could be obscuring the true configuration, which might be tailless without canards, by intentionally adding a misleading feature in public renderings. The Warzone notes counterintelligence work at play. In other words, showing a prominent feature that the actual jet doesn't have to throw off adversaries and onlookers. Only those inside the program know the truth at this point. It's worth noting that Boeing's earlier sixth-gen concepts for the Navy were tailless flying wing types. If the real FAXX ends up tailless, it could rely on thrust vectoring and complex flight control algorithms for stability, and Boeing might be exploring either canards or advanced engine nozzle steering, or both, to give such a design acceptable maneuverability. In the concept image, since the rear is hidden, we also can't tell if Boeing's FAXX has conventional vertical tails, canted rudder vaders, or truly no tail at all. The ambiguity is likely intentional. Common to both Northrop and Boeing visions is a clear focus on stealthy profiles, large internal volume, and carrier suitability. Neither design shows obvious external ordnance or protrusions. Any missiles or bombs would be carried internally to maintain stealth. Each has a robust nose gear for carrier launches and recoveries. The differences: Boeing's possible canards and perhaps a slightly smaller-looking radome, versus Northrop's dorsal intakes and sleeker lines, reflect two distinct philosophies. Northrop's design seems heavily tuned for low observability, possibly even at the expense of some handling, whereas Boeing's concept suggests a more agile multi-role fighter that borrows from its Air Force counterpart's high-performance pedigree. It's fascinating that Boeing openly touts the similarity. The company has said from the outset that building both the Air Force and Navy's next fighters was part of its strategy. The shared elements could mean cost savings and easier parallel production if Boeing were to win the Navy contract. Indeed, Boeing's new Advanced Combat Aircraft Assembly facility is designed with the capacity to churn out both jets side by side, something that would have been unheard of in earlier eras of aviation. Meanwhile, Northrop Grumman's concept release, rare for a company that often keeps its projects under tight wraps, signals that Northrop is very much in the game, offering the Navy a design building on its long lineage of stealth technology. And what do you think about it? Which design do you like more? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates on cutting-edge military technology. And thanks for watching.